Part 59. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 581. At the wedding, Feng Qingxiu discovered that, except for Sang Hong and Niu Yubao, who had become a platoon leader, who were relatively young, the rest of the grooms were all officers, and the youngest were all over 30 years old. Qiao Disheng is also a battalion commander and an officer. It can be seen that the army does give priority to the marriage issues of older officers. Although there were 15 couples of grooms and brides at the wedding, and the scene was more lively than when Su Junlin and Beixiu got married, there were not enough red flowers to wear, so the 15 couples didn't even have a pair of red flowers. They just wore clean military uniforms, which were better. Patches. The only thing that came close was several big patches, and Zhu Xiu was no exception. There was no grand wedding, no splendid clothes, no fine wines and delicacies. The 15 grooms and 13 brides all had simple and bright smiles on their faces. The other 2 brides were a little forced to smile, just like Bai Shui when they got married. Feng Qingxiu took a closer look at the 2 brides' revolutionary partners and understood instantly. Even if the female soldiers in the art troupe are not as beautiful as flowers, they have regular and delicate features, not to mention the 2 brides are quite handsome. However, this is not the case with their revolutionary partners. They are much older, at least 35 or above, because they look to be in their 40s or 50s. They are very inconspicuous in appearance, with dark skin and red bloodshot faces. There are wrinkles on the corners of his eyebrows and eyes, making him look particularly old. His rank in the army is not low, he is a deputy division commander and a regiment commander. Feng Qingxiu often went to the art troupe and recognized the 2 brides. One was Chen Chen, who had reported Fang Ning, and the other was Zhou Fei. Zhou Fei was younger and prettier than Chen Chen, only 24 years old. Zhou Fei married Deputy Division Commander Peng Hu, and Chen Chen naturally married Regiment Leader Wan Xingguo. Of the 4 newlyweds whom Feng Qingxiu had arranged for, except for Shang Kun, who was mature and steady, the other 3 smiled almost stupidly, especially Qiao Disheng, who was simply a big fool. On the other hand, the bride all pursed her lips and smiled, neither humble nor overbearing, but generous. When taking the oath, the 15 newlyweds were solemn, and their voices were uniform. The oath was exactly the same as that of Sujun and Lin Beixiu. The wedding ended quickly. After it was over, many groomsmen rushed to prepare meals for their revolutionary partners. They were so attentive. Anyway, Feng Qingxiu felt that she could compete with Lu Zhang. Zibao was loved by everyone, so his parents sat with Zhang Guang, Commander Ye Zhenjun and others. Zibao, do you miss Grandpa? Seeing Zibao, Commander Chen, who had presided over the wedding, couldn't help teasing him. After sitting down, he waved to him who was nestled in Feng Qingxiu's arms, but was surprised to find him. He suddenly rushed over and hit Lu Zhang, who was returning from serving the meal, then turned around and ran towards him quickly, bumping and running without forgetting to hold his gun. Although it was just a slap on Lu Jiang's leg, it was not as good as a mosquito bite, but it was enough to make Lu Jiang's face black. Lu Zibao, Lu Zhang shouted. Everyone who saw the scene was stunned, and then laughed. The commander hugged Zibao and sat him on his lap. Zibao, why are you beating daddy? Bad, Zibao pointed at Lu Zhang and said to the commander, puffing out his cheeks in dissatisfaction. Seeing Lu Zhang glare at him, he shrank into the commander's arms and raised his double fat chin, humph. Not to mention how much he deserves a beating. Guo Xiuying wiped the tears from her eyes. Qingxiu, what heinous thing did Lu Zhang do? Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 582. Being treated like this by his son, everyone expressed great sympathy for Lu Zhang. While Feng Qingxiu accepted the meal from Lu Zhang, she helplessly replied to Guo Xiuying, Either it's because his father took my pillow and he was unhappy and refused to let me pillow, or it's because his father took his gun. Anyway, it won't be because he sat on his dad's face and shit. The little guy is very clever. Looking at the way he is sitting in the commander's arms, doesn't it mean that the commander is the elder and the superior? The commander heard this, laughed loudly, and patted Zibao on the back. Good boy, you have the courage to hit your father at such a young age. Will your father not hit you when you get home? Spank your ass, Zibao pointed at Lu Zhang. Lu Zhang said with a dark face, Lu Zibao, when did I spank you? You sat on my face and shit and I didn't even spank you. As soon as the sentence left his mouth, he knew that he had made a mistake and it was too late to take it back. Sure enough, everyone with sharp ears immediately asked what was going on. Guo Xiuying even held Feng Qingxiu's hand. 11 Bao sat on Lu Jiang's face and pooped all over his face. Ye Zhenjun asked with interest. Feng Qingxiu hurriedly said, No, Zibao just woke up and is wearing a diaper. In fact, she was also very puzzled. Zibao was wearing crotchless pants and could squat on the ground to defecate when he was more than 1 year old. He wet the bed from time to time. It happened, but this was the first time I pooped on the Kong. Even so, it was enough for everyone to be happy. The only person who was unhappy was probably the person involved, Lu Zhang, but he couldn't blame anyone but himself. Feng Qingxiu deliberately avoided this matter when answering Guo Xiuying, but she didn't know that she had said it. No, you have to blame the culprit. While Lu Zhang was eating, he glared at Lu Zibao. As a result, he was sitting in the commander's arms. He turned his face to the left, opened his mouth wide and owed and took one more delicious chopsticks, and then turned his face to the right and owed and took one more delicious chopsticks after another. There were people feeding him on both sides, and when he looked up, the comrade commander picked out the more delicious ones from his own meals and fed them to him. He was as happy as a god. After dinner, everyone was busy with their own affairs. Zibao refused to leave with his parents. He held the gun in one hand and hugged the commander's neck tightly with the other. Grandpa, hold me, hold me. I must be afraid that you will hit him, the commander said to Lu Zhang and Feng Qingxiu. Feng Qingxiu hurriedly said, Lu Zhang loves the child more than I do. I have never hit him because father and son spend less time together. Lu Zhang cherishes every time they get together. He speaks harsh words but is very soft-handed. Sometimes when the wind and snow are so bad, Zibao will be beaten. Lu Zhang has never fought before. The commander held Zibao with one hand and waved with the other hand. Okay, you go back. I will take Zibao away. In the evening, I will ask the groomsmen who are getting married today to bring it back to you. Although officers who have reached a certain level have single dormitories, soldiers sleep in large bunks. What about newlyweds? Therefore, the army immediately thought of the 7 or 8 newly built family rooms. Those with higher ranks who have dormitories will bring their revolutionary partners to live in the dormitories first, while those with lower ranks or soldiers will move to the family rooms with their revolutionary partners. The rest will be arranged later. The female soldiers of the art troupe cannot stay here for a long time, and they will eventually live in 2 places. Jin Zizhu, Du Xiaotao, and Fang Ning all chose a house close to Feng Qingxiu's house. The specifications were lower, but it belonged to them for the time being. Feng Qingxiu was very happy because they finally had neighbors who were related to each other, so they helped with cleaning up with Lu Zhang. This work lasted until the evening, just in time to welcome the Zibao brought by Qiao Desheng and Sanghong. Chapter 10, There is no more today, please vote. I was shocked to find that I didn't know when I tipped myself $1, my dollar, I am awesome. Oh, if I tip it out, I only get 50 cents. Yes, a lollipop. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 583. In the faint light, when Zibao saw his parents, he immediately slipped off Xiao Desheng and ran up to Feng Qingxiu. He hugged her legs and raised his scarf to cover most of his fat face. Mom, Mom. Mom, Mom. So enthusiastic. Zibao, Mommy is tired, let Daddy hold you. After an afternoon of settling, Lu Zhang was already out of breath. Unexpectedly, the little guy shook his head like a rattle. No, no. Why don't you want Dad to hold you? Dad is taller than Mom and can lift you high. After listening to Feng Qingxiu's words, Zibao still insisted, Mom, hold me. Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, why? As a result, Zibao pointed at Lu Zhang and said, Daddy, spank, Daddy spank, spank. When he spoke, he showed a scared expression. The people present laughed loudly, and Xiao Desheng said, Sister-in-law, before coming, Comrade Commander and Comrade Commander Ye specifically told you that you and the brigade commander are not allowed to fight Zibao. Tomorrow they will ask Zibao if he has been beaten. Lu Zhang, who had been calming down, suddenly turned as dark as ink. What on earth had he done to be deemed capable of beating Zibao? Just a complaint from him. Feng Qingxiu said with a smile, I told you, Lu Zhang never hits Zibao, what are you worried about? That being said, who can guarantee it? Zibao is so cute, not to mention the commander and Commander Ye, who else wouldn't love him? Seeing the thoughts revealed in the expressions of Xiao Desheng and Sang Hong, Lu Zhang said angrily, okay, let's take your revolutionary comrades to the cafeteria to eat. Is it comfortable to stand here and blow the cold wind? Sang Hong said hurriedly, aren't the brigade commander and sister-in-law going to have dinner? We're not going, you go quickly. Although they moved here, they don't have pots and pans, and they have to participate in training and rehearsal performances in the future. They don't have time to cook, so they might as well eat in the army all the time. After eating and coming back, Feng Qingxiu noticed the puzzled expressions of the two of them. Feng Qingxiu smiled and said, I just took the food stamps to the logistics department to exchange for some food, which is enough for our family of 3. The last sentence is to explain the reason why he won't go home. The army's supplies are all fixed. If one Lu Zhang is missing, others will have more food to eat. Xiao Desheng and Sang Hong did not continue to ask. Their minds had already turned to Fang Ning and Jin Zizhu. They hurried back and sent a message to Du Xiaotao. Niu Yubao took over a temporary task and asked her to have dinner later. Let's eat first with Fang Ning, Jin Zizhu, and others. With the addition of newlyweds like them, the family courtyard became much more lively. When it comes to temporary residence, they all belong to temporary residence. About half a month later, Jin Zizhu and Du Xiaotao applied to be transferred to border medical guards at the same time. They were not particularly talented people in the art troupe. After what happened before, except for Fang Ning and Yang Fengying, there were only a few others. Others shunned them. Even if they were married now, there were many strange looks following them, and 3 or 5 of them even said dirty things behind their backs that they would cuckold Sang Hong and Niu Yubao in the future. It's irritating to hear. Feng Qingxiu did not find it strange that Jin Zizhu and Du Xiaotao made such a choice. If the eyes cannot see, it is pure, if the ears cannot hear, it is clear. The art troupe is overcrowded, but there is an extreme shortage of medical soldiers in border areas. During wars, they need to go to the battlefield to save lives and heal the wounded. Many people cannot bear the tragic situation at that time and have to form male medical soldiers. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 584. The leaders of the army management were overjoyed and readily agreed to their application. There were many things to deal with when soldiers from different military regions were transferred to different branches. All these were handled through mediation by the army. If the troops do not come forward, it will be difficult for Jinzuzu and Du Xiaotao to get what they want. Fortunately, the importance of the artistic soldiers is far less than that of the medical soldiers. The two of them are very likely to get their wish. Negotiations between the two parties will take time, and now they can only wait for the results. The happiest people are Niu Yubao and Sanghong. Their ranks are not high enough for their families to join the army. If Jinzuzu and Du Xiaotao still stay in the art troupe, they will have to return to the capital military region sooner or later, and they will have to live separately in the two places. It's different now. They stay in the border guard force. For a long time, they can get along with each other day and night, unless the country gives other instructions. Look, everyone is trying their best to stay, so why can't I join the army? Your level has long reached the standard for me to join the army. Zibao is getting along like a fish in water here, so you have the heart to let us go back and live without you day. After hearing Feng Qingxiu's complaint and seeing Zibao nodding beside him, Lu Zhang looked helpless. What do you know, kid? Do you understand me? Lu Zhang touched his head. Dad, Zibao climbed onto him neatly, holding his neck tightly with both hands, so intimately. The family of three is now nestled on the Kong, and the warm warmth in the room is in stark contrast to the outside. Lu Zhang pulled Zibao into his arms. Zibao, how good are you that you are so good every day? Dad, play. Zibao squatted in front of Lu Zhang, with his back to Lu Zhang, and his two small hands between his legs against the edge of the Kong. Lu Zhang had no choice but to stand up and stand on the edge of the Kong, pass his hands under his buttocks, and grab his wrists. With a gentle mention, Zibao instantly turned a 360-degree somersault, giggled, and said happily, Dad, play, play. Ever since Lu Zhang played with him once on the night of the collective wedding, he had remembered it and had to do some somersaults every day. After somersaulting, Zibao continued to squat in front of Lu Zhang with his butt sticking out, calling Lu Zhang repeatedly. The father and son were playing like this. Zibao did 7 or 8 somersaults in a row. Lu Zhang pretended to be out of breath and said, Son, Daddy tired, let's play again tomorrow. He was worried that turning over too many times would damage Zibao's arm and wrist joints, so he paid attention to it and exercised control every time. Zibao was not satisfied and burst into tears. Play. Dad, play, he cried until he was out of breath, and the snot bubbles popped up again. Feng Qingxiu took out a banana and waved it in front of his eyes. Zibao, what do you think this is? Xiao Xiao, Zibao immediately stopped crying, reached out and wiped his nose with the back of his hand, and crawled over nimbly. Feng Qingxiu quickly hugged him, wiped his nose and hands, then peeled a banana and handed it to him. He happily grabbed it in his hand and took a big bite. Before he could swallow it, the banana in his hand was pinched by him. Broken. Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao. I am Xiao Xiao, Zibao cried instantly and threw the banana out angrily. Lu Zhang caught it and frowned, who can spoil him? You ask me, how do I know? Feng Qingxiu estimated that her fat son has severe obsessive-compulsive disorder. He must eat whole foods, such as broken bananas, apples that he took a bite of, etc., even if they are when he peeled a hard-boiled egg, a little bit of the egg white was removed from the shell. When he saw it, he refused to eat it and insisted on getting another one that was intact. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 585. Seeing his son crying pitifully, Lu Zhang immediately stuffed the broken banana into his mouth, then quickly broke off a banana on the Kong table, peeled it again and handed it over. The little guy immediately burst into laughter and held it in his hand. When I ate it in big bites, I had to hold one in each hand, taking a bite from the left and a bite from the right. It was a great pleasure. Seeing that his son was eating so deliciously, Lu Zhang, who knew that Feng Qingxiu had a lot of stock, broke off a banana, peeled it, and was about to put it in his mouth. Unexpectedly, Zibao saw it, and he immediately rushed up and put it in his mouth. The half banana in his hand was stuffed into Lu Jiang's hand. He took the whole banana and ran behind Feng Qingxiu to hide it. Feng Qingxiu kicked Lu Jiang. "I was talking to you just now." "I listened." Lu Jiang sighed and was about to speak when he heard his wife say, "Don't always talk about the harsh environment and difficult conditions. No matter how bad the environment is or how difficult the conditions are, aren't you here? Wherever you are, there is home." Lu Jiang's eyes suddenly became moist. "Qingxiu, you know, with my space, there will be no harsh environment or harsh conditions, and you don't have to worry about food, clothing, and housing." Feng Qingxiu pointed to the banana next to her, staring at his gradually recovering face. Her voice was soft. "When I am here, you are well fed, warmly clothed, and strong, so that you have the energy to lead the troops. If you don't want Zibao and I to suffer, how can I tolerate you being here without enough food and clothing? I know, and I hope Zibao and I will be by your side. If I were at the military region headquarters, then I wouldn't have to hesitate," Lu Jiang said. Feng Qingxiu was stunned and suddenly understood what he meant. Although the troops here are usually called the military region, in fact the military region headquarters is not here, but is located in the capital of the Tibetan area, and the cultural troop affiliated with their military region is also there. Yes, every military region has an art troupe. The art troupe here has existed for more than 10 years. The conditions there are much stronger than here. Commander Chen is not the commander-in-chief of the military region, but the commander of the military division, with the rank of Major General, and is stationed in this important military location. Among his other leaders are the political commissar, deputy commander, deputy political commissar, chief of staff, director of the political department, the logistics director and political commissar, the equipment director and political commissar, etc. are all assigned according to each department. Feng Qingxiu has only now figured out a little bit about it. People like Ye Zhenjun, Lu Jiang and Zhao Yang are military chiefs, and Ye Zhenjun's status is second only to the commander. Thinking of this, Feng Qingxiu's eyes were soft and she smiled softly. "I believe that you will definitely let me live in the military compound near the military headquarters. In the future, you will also let us, mother and son, live in a higher level family compound." After Lu Jiang heard this, his eyes flashed and he hugged her hard. "Qingxiu, thank you for your care, thank you for your support, thank you for your trust. Then I'll apply to join the army," Feng Qingxiu took the opportunity to say. After careful consideration, Lu Jiang said in a deep voice, "Okay, our family of 3 will never be separated. Unless I go on a mission. This is a promise." Feng Qingxiu was so happy. She was afraid that Lu Jiang would regret it, so she immediately took out a pen and paper and asked Lu Jiang about the writing format of the application for joining the army. The couple wrote the application for joining the army together. As a family member, you need to apply, and Lu Jiang, who is in the army, also has to make a report. Early the next morning, Feng Qingxiu submitted the application to the army in a hurry, waiting for instructions. "I lost 1 lollipop in exchange for many, many lollipops. Thank you for the tips. I am asking for votes regularly." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 586. In order to see the lovely Zibao often, the instructions were given very quickly. On the eve of the Spring Festival, Feng Qingxiu received the result of passing. Of course, Lu Jiang and Feng Qingxiu did meet the conditions for family members to join the army. Otherwise, no matter how much the army hoped that Zibao would stay, it would not be able to violate the regulations and open the door to their family. Following the military decision, Lu Zhang immediately sent an urgent telegram to Lu's father, 3 times in a row. The telegram was brief, and he was afraid that a telegram could not explain the problem clearly. Cao Hui and Wang Xinru asked him to send an extra letter, just to wait until the weather warmed up, and one of them took the time to pick up Song Gang. Afterwards, Feng Qingxiu wrote 2 more letters and sent them to Lu's father and Wang Zhenqiu respectively. As the special era gradually approached, she was also very worried about the situation her family would face in the future, and decided to take Zibao home every summer and autumn. Not only can he and Lu Zhang stay together forever, but he can also allow his father-in-law to see his grandson and share the happiness of a family. The toll is very expensive, but it is not worth mentioning to them. At least, she can stay with Lu Zhang for 2 years now. Let's talk about what happens in 2 years' time. Father Lu received the telegram first, so he called a group of children to him and told them in detail, "You are all grown children. When Zibao's mother is not at home, you have to take care of each other. Don't call your aunt or sister here, the border guards are worried about us, except that Gangzi is younger, but he will be picked up by his parents soon." Feng Qingyun said hurriedly, "It's a great thing that sister and brother-in-law can live together. Zibao has a mother and a father, and he is simply the happiest child. I can wash clothes and cook by myself, and I passed the exam again. One person, sister, don't worry. She is only worried if her sister and brother-in-law have been separated for a long time. Besides, there is no shortage of food at home. We have food and clothing," Feng Qingyun added. When she was a child, she relied heavily on her sister, who depended on her for life, but now she has grown up, right? She is Zibao's aunt. She can take care of her eldest child by herself. She has also learned several special dishes from her sister. Besides, there are elders like Father Lu and Uncle Su and Aunt Su in the family. Aunt Su would secretly come over to sleep with her at night. Why does she not let her sister go with the army?" After hearing Feng Qingyun's words, Father Lu was slightly startled, then smiled and touched her head lovingly. Feng Qingxiu's sister is really a little girl among people. Lu Tianzi and Guan Yu couldn't bear to part with them, and their eyes burst into tears. "Auntie isn't coming back. My brother made me a slingshot. I'm going to teach Zibao how to play," Guan Yu said. "Uncle and aunt will definitely come back if they are free. How could they not care about us? Aren't they free now? You are older than my aunt, why are you crying?" Guan Cheng flicked his brother's head, and then smiled at Father Lu. "It's a good thing that my aunt and uncle are reunited. We shouldn't have any objections. Even if the brigade feels that we can't live without our aunt, don't we have me now? I've been following my aunt since she started studying medicine. Except for being unable to deliver babies, I have minor illnesses. It can be cured, and it has been widely praised in recent months. Moreover, I told the team leader that I will participate in this year's doctor training and officially become a rural doctor." Now, he finally understood the reason why Lu Zhang had insisted on letting him study medicine with Feng Qingxiu against all the opinions. It was estimated that at that time, Lu Zhang was ready to let Feng Qingxiu join the army. "Since we live in the Wanglu Brigade, we can't make people angry. If we make arrangements in advance, everyone will naturally accept it well." Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 587. Father Lu nodded slightly after hearing Guan Cheng's words, then frowned and said, "The issue of delivery. The previous midwives were gradually getting older, and the number of surviving babies of the women who delivered them was far less than that of Feng Qingxiu. In the past few months when Feng Qingxiu was away, 2 of the 4 newborns in the Wanglu Brigade died on the spot, and the others, not to mention those from the brigade. Therefore, the issue of midwifery deserves special attention. Guan Cheng can cure diseases and set bones, but he is a boy, so learning the art of midwifery is simply impossible. We have a new doctor in our brigade, and my medical skills are not bad. The folks should have no objection or anger towards my aunt joining the army. What I am worried about is the issue of delivery, especially the family members of women whose children have not survived. If my aunt is absent for a long time, at home, they must be very angry. Grandpa, we have to think about a solution to this problem. Father Lou sighed, yes, it must be resolved. Otherwise, it will cause public outrage and it will not be good for our whole family. His son was finally reunited with his daughter-in-law. Of course he was happy and agreed very much. With his daughter-in-law by his side, he didn't have to worry about his son overstretching his body and not taking his own life seriously. Feng Qingyun interrupted, what's so difficult about this? Can't we just find a midwife with superb medical skills? Easier said than done, Father Lu touched the top of her head. People with good medical skills all work in hospitals. How can they come to the countryside and live a life of both medicine and farming? Water flows to lower place, man goes to higher position. Uncle Lu, just think of a way. Think of it carefully. Don't let the fellow villagers blame my sister for joining the army, Feng Qingyun said. It's hard for a clever woman to make a meal without rice, Father Lu sighed, but I will take this matter to heart and will definitely ask your sister to take Zibao safely with the army. The methods all depend on people's thinking, and there will always be good solutions. At this time, Wang Zhenqiu came over and told Guancheng that he could prepare to participate in doctor training. When he went to the city tomorrow, he learned that Lu Zhang had sent a telegram, so he asked what the telegram said. After listening, he first said to Lu's father, midwifery, you don't have to worry about the mother-in-law's affairs, let me take care of the arrangements. Our Wangla brigade is now well known as a good place. Are you afraid that there won't be any gynecologists here? They were able to get through it when they were young, let alone how many years older they are now. Xiaoun is a girl, so it is a bit inconvenient, so she moved to my place to keep her sister-in-law company. In the early years, he had discussed with Miao Fengqin that if Feng Qingxiu got married, then they would adopt the lonely Feng Qingyun. Later, when Feng Qingxiu got married and took Feng Qingyun with her, they never mentioned that plan. No matter how close we are to uncles and nephews, we cannot be close to our sisters. Now that Feng Qingxiu was with the army, Wang Zhenqiu was actually very happy for her, so he naturally considered the issue of his niece. He didn't worry about food, clothing, housing, and transportation. The Wangla brigade had good harvests year after year, and the Lu family had no shortage of food, cotton, and oil. Every child could wash and cook by himself. The only thing he worried about was the protection between men and women. As Feng Qingyun grows older, her appearance becomes more and more beautiful. Although not as good as Feng Qingxiu, she is on par with Wang Xiao. Over time, she will definitely attract covetous people. Living in the same hospital with boys like Lu Tianjun will definitely make her look more beautiful. Some people gossiped, which would be detrimental to their future marriage, so the top priority was to move Feng Qingyun out of the Lu family. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 588. Moving out of the Lu family does not prevent her from having contact with the Lu family, but it means that she must live with her elders in terms of accommodation. After hearing what Wang Zhenqiu said, Father Lu said, you have to ask Xiaoun about this. Feng Qingyun said without hesitation, I listened to my uncle. How could she not think of the problems that Wang Zhenqiu could think of? Otherwise, Aunt Su would not sleep with her specifically. What's more, just because my sister cares about her family, she will come back at some point. She will move back when her sister comes back. As for living at her uncle's house, she won't live and eat for free. She will bring her own food rations and help with housework and raising the children. I believe she won't be annoying. Okay, let's move over here today and just take 2 pieces of clothes. We don't need bedding or food at home. Wang Zhenqiu also likes this smart niece very much. Your brother-in-law is serving the country loyally. How is your sister's life there? The conditions are definitely not as good as those at home. Let them stay together and we won't let them worry in the rear. Lu Tianjun said sternly, Uncle, don't worry, we will only be the backing of uncle and aunt, and will not be a burden to them. I will send a telegram to reply to them soon, so that aunt can join the army with peace of mind. If I have time and opportunity, I would like to. I'm going to visit my uncle and aunt, to experience military camp life in advance and prepare for the future. The most difficult time is over, and I can get through whatever comes next. Wang Zhenkuo couldn't help but said to Father Lu, these children are really good. They are all sensible and sensible. I envy them. What do you have to envy? Of your children and grandchildren, which one doesn't get thumbs up? Father Lu smiled, it was Wang Qiao. Habits come naturally, and now her hands and feet are much more diligent than before. I don't have any wishes. I just hope that each of these children can grow up safely. When they start a family and start a business, I will put all my worries aside. Wang Zhenkuo agreed, that's the case. I don't have anything to worry about now. I don't care about my children anymore. Since Xiaoxiu is with the army, my wife's household registration, food relations, etc. have to be moved there. Father Lu also considered this issue and said, this is what I plan to do. When Tianwan and Akan go to reply to the telegram, they will be asked to process the Zibao couple's rations into finished food, carefully package it and send it to them. Half thick and half thick. The conditions there are very difficult, and I am particularly worried that Zibao will not be able to eat white flour buns and noodles. Father Lu felt distressed when he thought of his little grandson losing weight due to hunger. Wang Zhenkuo nodded and said, that's right. Xiaoxiu left after dividing the grain last year. By the way, I asked her in the telegram how to transfer the relationship between household registration and grain. I had to receive the document approved by the army before I could dial it for her. Household registration is very important. It is related to food rations and formal procedures must be followed. It is actually very easy to transfer from here. The most important thing is that there must be a place to accept the couple's household registration, and then implement it so that they can receive the subsidies for military dependents and the local government or the army's work arrangements for Fengqingxiu. Lu Zhang had already thought of this problem and had all the necessary documents ready. After the spring came, Cao Hui was approved for leave and left the station with the cultural troupe to pick up Song Gang. Lu Zhang entrusted him with this matter. While picking up Song Gang, he handed over the household registration and rations of Fengqingxiu, mother and son. The relationship will be reversed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Back to the 60s, The Struggle Career of a Charmed Wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 589. As soon as Cao Hui left, with the arrival of the supply truck, Lu Zhang and Fengqingxiu received things and letters from their hometown. There were so many things that it took a dozen soldiers to help deliver everything to Fengqingxiu in the family home. In addition to 200 kilograms of coarse and fine grain, there were 2 sacks of dried vegetables of various colors, 3 large bundles of clothes, shoes, socks, and daily necessities for Fengqingxiu and her son, a bunk with 2 quilts and Zibao's swaddling quilt, and comrade Lu Zhang. Some specialties sent from various places include candy, malted milk, milk powder, luncheon meat, canned goods, and other high-priced commodities, as well as cotton, cloth, wool, clothes, shoes, and socks can be purchased with a ticket, and there are also merchandise for sale. These things filled most of the room. After returning from sending off the soldiers, Fengqingxiu opened the letter and read it while laughing. She was very moved. Who sent what was written in the letter, especially the things designated for Zibao? After looking at the date, it should have been sent shortly after receiving the telegram. There is a thick stack of letters, some written by Lu's father to himself and Lu Zhang respectively, some written by Wang Zhenqiu to himself, some written by Zhao Anbang to Lu Zhang, some written by his children, and some written by Chen Xuanyang and Wang Quilin. It is estimated that after hearing that they were joining the army, Chen Xuanyang and Wang Quilin specially wrote a letter, bought something and sent it with the Lu family. As expected, it was not what Feng Qingxiu had expected. Chen Xuanyang and Wang Quilin expressed their regret in the letter at the same time that they could not see little Zibao, and told her to take good care of Zibao and not let Zibao lose weight due to starvation, and told her the good news that Zhou Yulan was pregnant. Also said that Shen Fiheng was so happy that he could not close his mouth all day long, and he had already become a formal employee in the textile factory. Feng Qingyun's letter told her sister to take good care of her nephew, live a good life with her brother-in-law, and not to worry about her. When her sister said that she lived in her uncle's house, and that her uncle and sister-in-law were very kind to her, and that her second uncle, third uncle, and aunt often came to visit her, Feng Qingxiu felt guilty and relieved at the same time. She felt guilty that she had not raised her sister well. She stayed in the border area out of selfish motives, and was deeply moved by the kind deeds of Wang Zhenqiu and Miao Fengqian. The two elders' actions indeed solved a major issue that Feng Qingxiu was worried about. Lu Tianzi and Guan Cheng wrote the letter together. They probably had tears in their eyes when they wrote the letter. There were a few tears on the letter paper. They just asked themselves when they would take Zibao home. They missed themselves and Zibao, but don't think about it. It is worth mentioning that Guan Cheng sent his own slingshot for Zibao to play with. Feng Qingxiu could almost see the pitiful looks of the two brothers. Lu Tianjun and Guan Cheng were older, calmer in temperament, and more sensible. They both told Feng Qingxiu not to worry about things at home. The family was in good order. After all, there were 3 elders taking care of them. Medical arrangements were also made, and Guan Cheng studied medical skills in depth. Probably because he was young, eager to learn, and indeed talented, he only trained for 2 days and was actually accepted as a close disciple by an old Chinese doctor from the workers' hospital. After learning about the situation in Wanglu Brigade, an old man named Li Huili recommended his unmarried daughter Li Li, who had been devoted to gynecology, to settle in Wanglu Brigade, which did not let Wang Zhenqiu worry at all. Seeing this, Feng Qingxiu was completely relieved about the medical problems of the Wanglu Brigade. Before this, in addition to feeling guilty for her family, she felt sorry for her parents and fellow villagers for not being able to continue to stay at home and contribute to rural medical care. Back to the 60s, the struggle career of a charmed wife. Author, Ning Xiaobai. Chapter 590. Now, Guan Cheng has a famous teacher, and his senior sister is in charge of the Wanglu Brigade. Farmer women and children from all over the country will definitely benefit a lot. Feng Qingxiu only became a monk on the way, and her medical skills are definitely not as good as those of the senior sister from Guan Cheng, who specializes in medicine. The reason why Mr. Li Huili accepted Guan Cheng as his disciple made Feng Qingxiu a little strange. It was so unexpected. She was so eager to learn at the time, and many people said that she had talent, but no one officially accepted her as a disciple, including Wu Zheng. Why did Mr. Li Huili fall in love with Guan Cheng at first sight when he arrived at Guan Cheng? There must be a reason, waiting to be solved in the future. The content of the letter between Wang Zhenqiu and Father Lu is very simple. The former allows her not to worry about Feng Qingyun and the Lu family. Feng Qingyun is protected by him, and the Lu family is taken care of by him. Now he is continuing to save lives and heal the wounded in Guan Cheng. Even if there are any policies from above that are unfavorable to the Lu family, he can deal with them. Father Lu, on the other hand, said that everything was safe at home and told Feng Qingxiu to take good care of Zibao and not let him starve to death. Hungry and thin? Feng Qingxiu stared at her son who trotted in and rushed to her legs. He has a chubby face, a chubby body, and is short and chubby. He eats as much as he does. He even competed with Lu Zhang for the last dumpling in the morning. With the feeding of the soldiers in the army, can he starve and lose weight? Mom, Zibao hugged Feng Qingxiu's legs, looking up at her white and tender chubby face, smiling innocently and cutely. What did you ask me to do? While Feng Qingxiu was dealing with her fat son, she thanked Zhou Huiyan for bringing the Zibao. Zhou Huiyan was Commander Chen's bodyguard. There were so many things piled up in the room, but he didn't even look at them. He smiled and gave a military salute. The Zibao has been delivered home. The mission is accomplished. Sister-in-law, please take good care of the Zibao, I'll go back and recover first. I'd like to trouble you for making such a trip, Comrade Huiyan, thank you for your hard work. Feng Qingxiu wanted to give him something to bring to the commander, but she gave up temporarily because the things were not unpacked or packed. Zhou Huiyan said, no trouble, Zibao is very cute and everyone likes him very much. Zibao, I'm leaving. I'll pick you up tomorrow and go out to play, okay? I'll take you to see horses and sheep herding tomorrow. Zibao turned around and waved his hands, bye, look at the sheep. You're so good, I'll pick you up tomorrow. Zhou Huiyan touched his head and formally said goodbye without stopping at all. After Zhou Huiyan left, Zibao pointed to the packages and sacks on the ground on the Kong, with a question on his face, Mom. Feng Qingxiu said, this is what Grandpa and the others sent. Grandpa, Zibao thought for a moment. In fact, he didn't remember Father Lu's appearance for a long time. Children's memories are not as deep as adults. He pointed to the door, Grandpa, ride a horse. Feng Qingxiu didn't know whether he was talking about Commander Chen or Ye Zhenjun. The grandpa who sent things to Zibao was not the grandpa who rode horses outside, but the grandpa at home, Zibao's biological grandfather. Forget it, I couldn't be more clear, I can't understand it, and I can't tell which grandpa it is. Go and play with yourself and let Mom put the things away. The bedding is easy to pack, unpack and fold it and stack it at the end of the Kong, and the clothes and fabrics are stored in the box. After the application to join the army was approved, Lu Zhang found the soldier who made Zibao's gun and asked him to build 2 large boxes for his home. Feng Qingxiu didn't ask how the wood was found. It was hard-earned anyway, because there were almost no wood nearby. There are no trees.